Hey, my name is Chase Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about a buy-to-let lender that's doing an 85% loan-to-value deal. You don't get those very often, and there's a reason why these deals are in the market. You see, they can be quite useful for people that are struggling to get refinanced in this type of market, because a lot of surveyors are downvaluing properties at the moment because they've got the fear that maybe the market will turn, and ultimately their figures will be looked back on a few years later to see how accurate their surveys were. So in this video, we're going to talk about who this lender is, what kind of rate you can get, and what kind of person should be looking at this. These deals are also good for new buy-to-let purchases, meaning you need a smaller deposit, and refinances as well. Now, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 45,000 subscribers. We should hit it today. If you look around this video, we're very, very close to that. But by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, interest rate news, property investment news, and much, much more. Now, if you're wondering, is he really wearing a Krispy Kreme t-shirt? Yes, I am. I didn't get it for eating too many Krispy Kreme donuts. My daughter Georgia got it for me, and it's so comfortable. The cotton on it is really, really comfortable. So just in case you're thinking, why is he wearing that? That's why. Anyway, so we're in Carcassonne, France at the moment. Here for a couple of weeks, so the content will have a little bit of a different background for you guys. We'll take you on we'll wander around the estate. I'll try and do different routes each time. But yeah, this video I want to talk about a company called Foundation Home Loans. I've talked about them a few times on the channel, and they're doing a deal at 85% loan to value. Now, often when people talk about these deals, what they miss is that you could have got a buy-to-let property. Let's say you bought a property for £100,000, and in the area where you've invested in, maybe property prices have gone down a little bit. Maybe you bought it 2 years ago, and since then the market hasn't been particularly strong, so it's dropped somewhat in that time. Now, if you go for a refinance and then you get unlucky and you get a down valuation, your solution then would be to go on the standard variable rate at the end of your deal, which will be crazy high, maybe as close and as high as 10%, 9%. There's loads out there. Look at lenders' rates, you'll see they're really, really high. Or you'll have to top up your deposit in order to bring your loan to value down, which isn't what anyone wants to do. That's not how you got into the property game, expecting to top up your deposit. So the fact that there are lenders out there now looking at 85% is pretty good. And it's a security blanket, and it will help some people that potentially didn't want to sell their property, but because of bad valuations, etc., or a slow market, or that market moving down, would have had to consider doing that. So I think that there's a place for these kind of deals. Now, what kind of rate are we looking at on this deal? It's not the cheapest rate. Of course it's not going to be. It's 6.49%, but there are no fees on that. So you can get lenders that will give you a rate and say, well, for example, the Mortgage Works are doing deals at the moment at 2.99%, which seems incredible. However, the problem with those is that the fees can be 3 or 4%, so significantly higher, pushing that deal up. So it's not actually 2.99%, is it? So this is 6.49%. It gets people out of a sticky situation, and if you've got a decent rental income, it could work for you. It also is something that you can have on a new deal. So if you wanted to get a new deal and maybe you were going to do some works on the property and add value to it and refinance later, could be a better option than a bridging deal for you. So that's another category of people that could look at these kind of deals. Now, also interestingly, this is for people with limited companies and who buy on a buy-to-let in an individual process. They do it themselves. If you're a new buy-to-let investor, I would always say go into a limited company, but it's good to have other options. So we've got no fees. The other thing that you've got to look at on this deal is that you have to have a mortgage with them. The borrowing part needs to be at least £100,000. So you've got to borrow at least 100k. So it's not going to work on these ultra cheap northern properties. But I think these deals do have a place, and I think it's important to share them so people understand. And the good news is interest rates are going down, and so the market will also rebound at some point. We know there is going to be a time where house prices will go back up. We don't have enough properties. I'm just making sure where I'm walking isn't going to be somewhere full of snakes. It looks like it could be, so I'm keeping an eye here to make sure that it doesn't. But yeah, there is going to be a time when the market goes up. The interest rates are going to go down. So when you refinance, it would be a lot easier. So I would consider this kind of deal, but it would be to get me out of a difficult situation. And sometimes you do get those difficult situations. I had a difficult deal about 6 months ago with one of my flats in Dorking. I've owned it for years and years and years, never had any problems with it. But now a lot of the lenders are saying, we're not going to lend to you because you're near a petrol station. I'm not near a petrol station. It's more than 200 meters away. But in their opinion, that's near a petrol station. For years, no lender cared about that. But suddenly, because they're all getting a bit more picky, that would be a disappointment to them. They wouldn't lend me the money. So I have options, and these kinds of deals, when they are at these slightly higher rates, they will give you an option and help you get out of a sticky situation. So what do you think about it? It could be that you want to get maximum money out of your properties that you've got because you've got opportunities elsewhere, whether that's crypto, buying a business, more property investments. This gives you options, and so I do think they do have a place. I do think they're not right for everybody though as well. I'd love to know your thoughts, questions, observations below. Also, if you didn't do already, do make sure you grab our new ebook, which is how to find the best mortgage in 2025. More than 1,000 people now have grabbed a copy of that. It's totally free. You download it, it'll whiz to your inbox in seconds. And make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe. Let's get to that 45,000 subscribers. Check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.